Hello, good morning and welcome to New Forest Morphs. We've got Jared back in the facility. Welcome back, Jared.
Thank you.
I heard that the exam was a tough one.
It was tough.
We're still waiting for the results. We're a little bit on tenterhooks, aren't we, Jared?
Yeah.
But you give it your best shot, and a lot of our viewers have wished you well, Jared, and they're basically egging for you to get to do well. So hopefully, you've passed this time and we've got that result, but we shall wait and see. We have to be patient. It was when you come out of exam, when I did my exams as a young man, I remember doing 5 exams back to back, and the last exam was the tax exam, and everybody came out of the exam scratching their heads thinking, what was that? It was like a really tough. The Institute of Chartered Accountants, I mean, they are an incredibly tough set of exams, even amongst any profession, and they design them to really be tough, so that you've got to really dig deep to pass them. And what they do is they put you under a lot of pressure, don't they, Jared, in terms of, in my day we used to sit 5 back to back, whereas in your day you can actually do them on a more one-by-one basis, which I think is a little bit more manageable. But still tough though. So anyway, hopefully let's see what happens. We'll find out soon how you've got on, Jared. But anyway, we've had some good news, which I haven't really been discussing with you as viewers, but I think now's the day to kind of discuss this. 'Cause as much as it's been a very challenging 21 and 21 has been very challenging, isn't it, Jared? So I've had my hip, I've had a hip issue for 3 years, still waiting for the op. The good news is my doctor's called me and said that it's going to be scheduled hopefully in the new year. So 2022 I think is going to be a year of healing and restitution, Jared, is what I think. And a lot of the problems of the past, I think we can actually say goodbye to, and we've got a fresh start and a new beginning. And I think a lot of people are going to feel that way, Jared, with the COVID impact. So there's some good things there. But no, we got a lovely letter yesterday from our local planning officer, because when I built the facility with Jared, we did our homework and we realised that we'd build the facility within what they call permitted development. Now in the UK, if you build an outbuilding on your land and it's within, I think, 40 square metres, you might have to, if you're thinking about doing it yourselves, do check with your planning, local planning conditions. But if ours was 9x4, so it was 36 square metres, and we thought, fine, it's within permitted development, we'll just build it and we'll be fine. Well, 1 or 2 of the neighbours put in an objection, and actually we had about 6-month discussions with the local council, and we got a letter yesterday after making a few tweaks, a few adjustments to the conditions of having the facility. They granted us retrospective planning consent. Now what I didn't realise is that if you're a listed building living in a conservation area, the permitted development rights are not possible within that area, because it only applies to other properties living in different areas. So we've learnt something from that. So what I would always say to anyone out there that's thinking about building a facility, just double check to make sure it's within permitted development before you do it, because you could end up with some issues, which we did. But we're very grateful for our architect and planning consultants who have been able to take us through this journey. It was a little bit stressful, and are you happy, Jared, that we've now got formal consent on the whole building now?
Yes, relief.
Yeah.
I was worried. I spent hours and hours on this thing, so if they had to take it down, I would have been gutted.
Yeah, Jared, I think Jared, because he put so much of his heart and soul into this building, and it is part of the fabric of the family, to have to take it down would have been just heart destroying, wouldn't it, Jared? And
yeah, it was sucked.
yeah, so we're so very grateful for the professionals that have helped us through this process, and it has cost us a lot more money to achieve that, but we're so grateful that we know that our facility is now completely approved, and grateful for that. So that was some good news, just to let you know. So next year what we're going to do is we're going to put some drawings out and maybe share our drawings with you, which will help you if you're thinking about building a facility. Have a look at our drawings, and by all means, if you want to borrow some of those drawings, let me know, because it could save you in architectural fees. But obviously everyone to their own. You've got your own bespoke design. You can do what you think is necessary. But anyway, so that was some good news. We've had some really interesting feedback on yesterday's video, Jared. While you've been away, I've been talking about calcium deficiency. You're probably thinking, what's been going on since I've been away? And we've had a couple of new people jump on our channel, and I was just giving a shout out to one of our new subscribers, and his top video was talking about supplementing the any calcium deficiency in our snakes. and he uses Da Vinci boa, which was originally designed for the boas, but ball python enthusiasts and top breeders have been using it. Now, I've got 1 or 2 viewers out there that have snakes that are off food and they're looking at considering it. I've got 1 or 2 that are looking at alternative methods, UBV light, which is another method, and we've got others that are suggesting giving the supplement to the rats and then feeding the rats to the snakes, because I think 1 or 2 of them think that it's quite intrusive putting a pipe down their necks every 2 months. I mean, it is once every 2 months normally is what they recommend, so it's not a daily experience. But nevertheless, you do put an animal under stress when you get that intimate with them. So I completely accept both levels of feedback. It's a healthy discussion, no one's getting upset and no one's kind of ranting, but I think it's good that our channel is open for discussion, and as long as it's done nicely, I'm very happy with that, because the whole point of having this channel is to challenge some of our traditional ways of thinking. If we don't, then we're going to be stuck in the past, and I think it's really important to be open-minded and look at future technology, future ideas. Some might work for some might be pie in the sky for others, and I think we get a lot of benefit from the feedback, don't we, Jared? Because we can then adjust our systems with that feedback. So we do want feedback, and we do want, as long as it's done politely, I'm very happy. So yeah, but what I'd like to see happening is for people to come forward with what they are doing and how it's working for them, because I think it's really important to kind of get a feel for what's going out there, Chad. And when you're isolated, in the UK here, we could be completely isolated in COVID and not really communicating effectively with other breeders, but the YouTube channels is a great social way of connecting with each other, seeing what other people are doing. And we learn that way when we find out different methods and techniques. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming and giving us your feedback. And I appreciate that it doesn't always sit comfortably with everybody, and that's pretty true of life in general, isn't it, Jared? So let's talk about now behaviour, because we've had some interesting things, Jared. We've had our first, when you finished your exams yesterday, we decided to feed our hatchlings, didn't we, Jared? And tell us about the success that you had, particularly with feeding our brand new hatchlings on the Purple Passion babies. Tell us what happened and how it went.
Well, usually when you get a brand new clutch of babies, they take a little bit of time to go on food, and they're refused a couple meals first. That's usually the case, sometimes not. But with this one, we waited 2 weeks before we offered them food. And all of them were out at the front of their cage, or at the front of their tubs, looking for food. And 7 out of the 8 all ate a rat fluff on their first attempt, so that was really good news for us.
7 out of 8 is, I've never heard that success before in terms of brand new hatchlings. I mean, that was the first time you presented food to them, full stop. It wasn't as though you'd kind of got them all on feeding over the next 3 to 4 weeks. It was 7 out of 8, and even the 8th one actually struck it, didn't it? Or did it strike it?
It struck it. It was more of an aggressive strike, though. So.
Yeah, so even the 8th one was a defensive one, and it was interesting. The 8th one was the normal looking one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was the normal one that was het for Ultramel, and but the ones that were the most up for it, Jared, which is interesting, were the
Mojaves and Purple Passions.
The Mojaves and the Purple Passions were unbelievable. And I fed the other side of the hatchlings, and I have never seen hatchlings come out and nail food so quickly and efficiently. It was a really easy feed. Now remember, they've gone without food for nearly 21 days.
Was it that long?
Because remember, they're normally Wednesdays, aren't they? So they've had nearly 3 weeks, or two and a half weeks since the storm.
Because we fed them before the storm.
Yeah, the storm came in on the Friday, Saturday night. They fed on the Wednesday, didn't they?
Yeah.
So the storm was 2 weeks ago, so it would have been about 2.5 weeks. So let's say 20, like 17, 18 days. No, about 20 days. So if you think 20 days, now it's interesting because what we've learnt here is that I think when a hatchling has absorbed most of the egg and they're decent size, one of the mistakes I think we make is we go to feed them after they come out of their shed thinking they're going to eat after their first shed. But that egg will sustain them probably for the best part of 3 weeks. And what it does, it means that I think what we're going to do, we might have a change in policy in how we go about feeding our hatchlings as a result of this test. And rather than give them a meal after they shed, which is our norm, we might wait another week and allow them to settle in even more, allow them to get hungry. Because what I've realised, I think one of the reasons why some of our snakes have a feeding problem is it's something that we might be doing ourselves in terms of, when you're feeding a snake in its early stages and it's not hungry, you're presenting a food item to them when their instincts are saying, I don't really want to eat, and then going into defensive mode. So they now associate for the first time a food item is a defensive strike. So I think there's something going on there. So I actually think it might be prudent to wait another week, Jared, before we start feeding, because look at the success we've had, 7 out of 8, by just taking an extra couple of weeks. Patience is the name of the game. Now, there is an exception to the rules, there always is, which I think is that if you've got a hatchling that hasn't taken much food out of the egg and is actually looking quite small, like the boob eggs and other things, I think you should be on that straight away. Do you think so, Jared?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's have a look at behaviour. So should we just have a quick look at those babies and see how we're doing? We did have another issue we had to deal with this morning, which was something which can happen quite easily, Jared, is one of our probes came off the mat. And it could well have been yesterday's activities, opening and closing drawers, Jared. And I noticed when I was cleaning one of the hatchlings that all the babies were on the cool side of their rubs, and I thought, that's a bit strange. I thought, why has everything migrated to the cool side of their rubs? And it turns out that the probe had come off and the heat mats were going up to, I think one of them was as high as 96. And I thought to myself, this isn't right. So I took all the rubs out, stacked them high. Jared came back in and showed Jared. And then we got out the temperature gun and we realised that some of our hatchlings were obviously moving to the front end of their rubs on that gradient because it was overheating, wasn't it, Jared? So now you've actually re-secured the probe. It's now back in place. We've checked the temperatures and everything's fine. None of the snakes seem to be damaged by that, but that's another reason to check your temperatures on a daily basis, just in case. And the reason I picked it up is a visual cue that the snakes had migrated to the cool end, consistently, all of them. And I picked up one of their hides, which was a lot warmer than I was expecting as well when I was cleaning. I thought, this doesn't feel right. So it's really, really important to keep an eye on this, guys, and to make sure that your probes are secure, because, you know, it's a scary prospect if one of the probes comes off, because effectively the heat mats will just go to their maximum temperature and it could cook your snakes. So I'm glad that we picked that up, Jared. So there's one thing to watch out for. The other behaviour was all to do with the water bowls. Now we've got 3 or 4 snakes here. Curiosity is one, Jared. Let's have a look at her. Now when I came in to clean her, she had tipped her water bowl everywhere and she was effectively quite wet. It was all quite wet. It's now dry. There she is. And we were thinking to ourselves, okay, you can accept that one of those might tip over their water bowl and there might be a little bit of an issue. You occasionally get that. But today, the day after the feeding, 4 of our snakes had tipped their water bowls following the feeding. Now, you could say that's a coincidence, but I don't think so. I actually think, Jared, what's going on is that when we're feeding, the snakes are activated into hunt mode. And I think what's going on is that even when they're taking their prey, and even after they've taken their prey, they could be swishing their tail. I mean, have you noticed that they do swish their tails about and they become really alert when feeding's about?
Yeah.
So what's your theory on that, Jared, as to why water bowls could be being tipped?
They just become a lot more active and they move around their tub more. When they're eating the actual rat, they're up in the sky, like their heads are up. So then when they come back down, they can easily land on the water bowl and tip it.
Yeah.
So I think it's just the activity levels. They're a bit clumsy and they knock it over.
Sure. So I think this is interesting, isn't it? Because we are now seeing different behaviour following different treatments or feeding. So when we're feeding, we suddenly get more water bowls getting saturated. I think the reason why that happens is because you've got heightened and more alert snakes that are moving on their prey, and I think they're more active and they are going to move around. So I think that might be part of the reason why we're having that water bowl issue. Okay, so just to end today's show, was there anything else, Jared, that you wanted to share at all?
We had a couple more sheds that were really good. The humidity in the facility is good.
Yeah.
So everything's shitting out nicely. So.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so we're going to give out a shout out to a Tinge of Ginge, Jared. There's his channel, if you want to zoom in on that and have a little look. So I think a couple of days ago we were talking about building bespoke enrichment areas, and I like this particular channel because the guy's very passionate about his snakes, good breeder, produced some amazing animals. And if I go to his actual logo, you can zoom in on the logo, Jared, and It's called a Tinge of Ginge. So there you can see ATOG.
Here's one of the first ones we had on the sticker board as well.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is he's got actually some interesting things going on. I think he's in the process of building himself a new facility, or at least renovating his existing space. And he's got a 3D printer, and he designs a lot of things for himself. I find his channel really interesting, and I really enjoy it. He also likes his koi carp and his carp. He's a fisherman, as like us, so Jared and I have got a lot in common with him. And let's just have a look and see how many subscribers has he got, Jared. Can you see the subscribers on there?
387.
387. And can we get his top videos? How do we get the videos?
Click on videos at the top.
Over here, videos. Here?
Yep.
And then we go to top video.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to do it? So what's his top video?
Cheap DIY fish pond heater.
Yeah, so
fish and stuff.
He is a mixture of fish and aquatics. And if you like your fish and you like your aquatics as well as your snakes, which a lot of people do, we certainly do. You've got fish tanks, Jared, haven't you? And I've always had fish tanks.
I've got a fish tank.
Yeah, and I think quite a few of us do like our fish as well. I'm thinking about putting a fish tank in here, Jared, because the ambient temperature is perfect. I mean, it's something to consider anyway. So let's have a look at one of his videos, Jared. We'll do
the best snake one is egg cutting, going dark with cinnamon, GHI to pastel black egg.
Do you want to click on that one? We'll have a quick look at his setup.
So I really don't know. So this is how they're all looking in the hatch box. As you can see, they all look absolutely incredible. This one, need to know what that one is. I'm really excited for that one. But yeah, that's how they're all doing. This egg box, like I said, is absolutely fantastic. Really excited to see what happens when these actually come out and start moving around. I'm hoping they can't fit through these holes, because otherwise I will have to cut them out, which would be interesting. I'd be like doing my little firefighter bit. But yeah, so far this box has been spot on. So these should hopefully be out in maybe 2-3 days. I can't see any of the egg yolk in the bottom now, so normally you can see a little bit of that sticking up, but that doesn't look like that's there anymore. That's almost all absorbed by the looks of it. And there's no umbilical cords. That's one of the reasons why I do cut, just to make sure there's no issues, like, because I've had quite a few umbilical cord wraps. So yeah, they're all looking spot on. So gonna get them back in the incubator, and I'll update as soon as I know anything more, but I might tease this one a little bit, because I think that one could be a little bit special. But yeah, we'll see what happens. So that's the eggs cut. Mixed emotions. I'm happy with what I've got. I think I know what's in there. I've got a rough idea. We never really know what they actually are until they come out of the egg, but yeah, I've got a rough idea. I think I've got a couple in there that I probably will hold back. I don't think I've hit the all gene animal. It is a shame, but at the end of the day, they all look good. There's 3 potentially that I probably might keep back. But yeah, I'm super happy. So yeah, it's just gonna have to wait for them to come out of the egg. The one that was a bit mouldy.
So there we go. You get a little sample of his channel, and I think, did you notice he carries on with the Tinge of Ginge theme within his bespoke? Did you see his bespoke made egg box he did, Joe?
Is that 3D printed?
He used a 3D printer to do that, and also designing his new facility. He's using his 3D printer for designing things on that. And that's why I was saying to you, is he might be worth us contacting if we want to have something made bespoke, whether he'd be happy to design us something and make sense. So we're going to give you a big shout out there. Thank you everyone for your love and support. Today's Thursday, isn't it? Or was it Friday? It's Friday, so we know that Friday is a great day. Everyone have a lovely weekend, and we shall catch you. I'm going to be away for a few days, so unless Jared wants to come in and do some video, which probably...
you will get your videos again next week. That is bad.
We've got 250 videos. If you want to go through our care series, we've got various playlists. We've got hatchlings, we've got unboxings, we've got breeding tips. I'm going to be away for a few days, so please do feel free to enjoy the backlog of videos. If you're new to the channel and you want to just catch up, please use this opportunity. But thank you so much for your love and support, and we shall see you next week sometime. Thank you. Bye bye for now.